it's Doug from the Point of Sale Data Minute. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Point of Sale Data Minute podcast in conjunction with the Canadian Office Products Association, the Canadian Home Products Trade Association, sponsored by Krunchbox. Krunchbox is a point of sale data management and analytics program specifically for retail suppliers. And that is what I spend my day doing Monday to Friday, 9 to 6. So if you need some point of sale data analytics, you know where to find me. Today, I'm really excited to get started because if you are a COPA and a CHPTA member and you know one thing that you all have in common, and that is that you're doing business on Amazon. So whether you're part of those associations or not, this episode is for you. I'm excited to bring on Guillaume. He is the founder of Amazon Studio, a consulting company based in Montreal. Let's bring Guillaume on stream, and then we'll talk about our content for today. Hey, Guillaume, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Doug.
Ba-doom-ching.
Thank you, Doug. Glad to be here back with you on this podcast, Doug.
Awesome. Thanks for having us. And that is the button I wanted to hit right there.
Oh, that's better. That's better.
That's better, right? That is better. So listen, we're going to have some great content today. I'm excited about it because we've already kind of prepped for this ahead of time. And the things you were telling me around what's happening at Amazon, their focus on, profitability and some of those changes, we'll get into that. Then we're going to talk about one of your favorite subjects and something you talk to your customers about and clients about every week. You were telling me multiple times, and that's really owning your brand on Amazon. And some of the simple things suppliers should be thinking about, maybe not so simple from a implementation standpoint, but from a tactical standpoint, they really got to start thinking about brand governance, controlling their brand, their distribution, and those types of things. And that's where I think there's some real value for the folks that are going to be watching us today. So without further ado, why don't we get into your take on where Amazon's headed in 2023? There's been, lots of changes going on over there, lots written about it, but you're in the weeds of it every day. So I'm curious to have your feedback that we can share with those watching.
Yeah, indeed. Amazon in the news just this week. Some strikes outside of Seattle on the minimum wage for warehouse workers. I think since we last spoken, so Amazon came out with its Q1 numbers. So Amazon has a December 31st year end. So Q1 March came out. For me, four main takeaways. Sales are up. Shopify is out. Focus on profitability and ad growth. So Amazon marketing, and one by one impact for Canada, sellers versus vendors. And I'll try to keep that not too many acronyms because it's kind of a complex environment, right, Doug? So we're trying to simplify all of this. So sales, so Q1 sales were up 11% at Amazon, reached 127 billion. The guidance for Q2, which ends this June, is 5 to 10% growth. So Amazon is still a behemoth of e-commerce. It's still growing. Mind you, they have a tailwind on the inflationary pressure, right? Because the numbers in terms of dollars doesn't necessarily reflect the growth in terms of units. But when you look at 11% growth versus 8% more or less on the inflation, my gut feeling tells me that unit count, it's still growing. Shopify is out. So Shopify announced that its project of mimicking Amazon on the logistics side, moving goods, doesn't work. They've tried. They've put in a lot of capital into that project, and they couldn't do it. So it took courageous leadership, I think. But it also supports and it also confirms how big and how advanced Amazon is versus the others, right? And for the vendors and sellers out there that are also dealing on other platforms like Walmart.ca or Walmart.com, even though they had an upgrade recently, I mean, you guys know how far ahead Amazon is versus the other marketplaces for sellers and vendors. So that's the Shopify piece. Profitability is big. So the focus, and they've been clear on that at Amazon, they want to focus on profitability. The retail ops margin is 1.2 right now, and they're shooting for 4 to 6. So that's 4 or 5 times where it is now. I think for vendors, not on the seller's side, but not for vendors, and this is no news for any vendor, I think. Cost increases are very difficult to get pushed into Amazon. Vendor managers are pushing back on on cost increases. The annual vendor negotiation, the famous AVN, are much more difficult. And this is, I think this is just the beginning. It's just going to get tougher and tougher to get profit, to get cost increases off to Amazon. And then it's a matter of deciding, which item you got to drop, which item you're going to keep, and if it's part of the strategy. Linked to that is the on the ad growth. So the cash cow on Amazon is its marketing piece. So Amazon marketing is a big cash generator. It grew 23%, which sounds big, but it's the lowest it's been in a while. But when you compare that, and Google and Meta have increased about 2-3%. So Amazon marketing, it's still generating a lot of money from the manufacturers and the brand owners. And my gut feeling is, the ROI is much easier. I mean, if you put a Google ad out there, even though you have some clunky attribution systems to attribute it to the sales in Amazon, I mean, the Amazon marketing sponsored product is very easy, right? You spend $1, you get a click, you get a sale. So the ROI is much easier to justify. So my gut feeling tells me that that's what they're surfing on right now. And I think, in my view, that's the right place to put some marketing dollars. So these were kind of the big fours and impact for vendors and sellers. And Canada, US, pretty much the same. There's nothing really that came out, in my view, at least just specifically for Canada. There's been some layoffs, and the piece on layoffs is really about cost cutting and profitability. So that's where we are on the Amazon front on the news and update, Doug.
Yeah, that's some really great feedback. I think what's always interesting for those watching is that you have a view of the feedback is a view of working with many clients. And I think a lot of the suppliers I talk to, they're always curious and asking me what's happening somewhere else. So it's great to have feedback from someone working with many clients, because it's not just one customer of yours that is seeing this happen. It is one customer after another. And, there is, what's the expression? Misery loves company. If it's happening to someone else and it's not in our favor, I just want to make sure it's not isolated to just our company, right?
Yeah, no, it's pretty consistent across the board. Pretty consistent, I would say, yes.
Yeah, that's great. I think also the sales growth at Amazon, most of the retailers' results that I've seen so far, whether it's been Home Depot, Lowe's, Costco had a bit of a bump, I think, but they're showing flat or negative comps, even though they've had price increases. So unit sales are down, but the price increases have made up for maybe a little bit of sales growth, but it's really been a flat market. So some of that market clearly continues to shift to Amazon as they continue to focus on really honing their business in on profitability. I did read that they've spent a lot of money over the last couple of years on infrastructure, and now they want to take the cash out of that infrastructure and make sure they're getting a return on investment. So that's exactly what you mentioned there is what I've been able to glean from a couple articles, but not at that level of detail. So let's pivot to our subject today, and one of your favorite topics, and I throw you in the expert category on this, which is why I want to talk about it for the memberships and those other suppliers that are watching today. And that is just the broad topic of brand governance. So I'm not going to get into it or begin to describe it. You can do that much better. So why don't I pass it back to you, and let's spend the next 15 minutes talking about brand governance on Amazon and some of the tactics and ideas and that suppliers can implement there.
So it's a big topic, and it's a topic that I touch every day. I've been touching this topic every day for a few months now, and I'm going to start with a story, and it's just this week, real life story. So my wife came to me, and she wants me to buy a air conditioning unit for her office, which is in the attic of the house. And it obviously falls within my department of responsibility in my couple, right? Air conditioning units. So what I do is I start off on Amazon. I open up Amazon.ca and I go and shop for air conditioners. And I look at a few products. And then from Amazon, what I do is I copy the title of what seems to be within my price range and what's interesting once I saw the pictures, once I saw the videos, and I kind of got all the information on a specific unit. And then I went from Amazon into Google, pasted the title or the number into Google, which brought me to YouTube and videos of reviews of people that just, get this in the US and they just film whatever they have. And it got me all the information I needed to decide whether I was buying it or not. And all of this to come back in my process and buy it on Amazon. Why? Because I trust the return systems and the return logistics process more on Amazon than any other portals, right? So the link to the brand governance is I've used Amazon as a system information point, right? This is where I got my information on a product. I started off my research on Amazon. And today, there are more searches being triggered on Amazon on the consumer goods side than they are on Google. Amazon became this reference base in terms of product research and product information. So what I mean by brand governance is whether you are a brand owner or a manufacturer, even if you decide to sell or not sell on Amazon, it doesn't matter. Be on Amazon and control your image. And this is what I call brand governance. It's about taking control of your brand, ring fence it, and take control of the image, curating the item detail page, making sure the videos are there, the pictures are there, and it properly reflects your brand's ecosystem. And how to do that is kind of easy. I mean, you just go open Seller Central account, you register your trademark, and then by doing this, the trademark is assigned to you, and then you take control of the items on Amazon. And now whether you decide that one of your distributors are going to sell it, you're going to fulfill it yourself. I have a lot of customers, manufacturers that don't want to get into the B2Cs and sell onesies and twosies, and they're not equipped for that because they ship by the pallet load or container load, when you can decide to have a third party to do that, which is already in your distribution channel. So the brand governance is about taking control of so-called chaos on Amazon. If you sell stuff that has a demand, and I'm going to take this CRC, electronic cleaner. If there's a demand for this right now in the Canadian market, it is on Amazon. It's selling on Amazon. Someone, somewhere, whether it's through your authorized distribution channel or whether it's someone who bought it from a shelf and published it on Amazon, it's there. Right? Now, is it there the way you want it to be? Probably not. Does it have the specs that you need to be? The people that are shipping it, do they respect the timeline of your consumers, or does it always get there too late and that it gets you bad reviews on the product and it has nothing to do with the product? It has to do with the distributor. Like all of this, you have to take control over that because this bubble is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So if you take control over that, you have the creative as a manufacturer and brand owner. Don't rely on so I've been a distributor. I've been in the office supplies business for a few years as a distributor, right? We were shipping 600 brands. There's no way distributors can have neither the time, the energy, nor the money, because they're working on margin as thin as this, on pushing this one, right? Some of them do, but in general, they're pretty widespread in terms of number of SKUs. So my view is it's the responsibility of this brand owner, of this manufacturer, to making sure that the image is there, it's properly set up, the A+ content and the brand stores, and these are all kind of the different pages you can put on Amazon, are owned by the brand owner. And then they decide who sells it. And if they sell it, you don't have to sell on Amazon to do that. And then, on top of that, it's not more complexity, but you can even decide to do the marketing over this. So you do your Amazon marketing over your ASIN, over your SKU in Amazon. And then it's just your distributor that gets the orders all the time. So you can even invest in marketing within the platform if you're in the consumer good. So that's what I mean when I say about brand governance. It's not really a function of distribution channels, or is Amazon if I'm on Amazon, they're gonna sell it at half the price that it should, and then it's gonna create conflicts with my distributors. This is the second level down on brand governance. The first level is just take control of your brand. You have a registered trademark, and by the way, so Amazon doesn't get into patents and they don't get into any of that. They get into alphanumeric words when it comes to trademark. So if you have a trademark, word trademark, and designs trademarks, I don't want to get technical into trademarks here, but even design trademarks are difficult to to protect on Amazon. But if you have Word, so back on my example, CRC is the brand here. So CRC is owned by Guillaume Baril Inc. in Canada. I have a trademark, and whether it's fully registered or within the 2-year period is fine. It's going to work. You're going to register that. This is going to be owned by me. And then from there, I'm going to own the brand and curate everything around the brand within Amazon. So this is what brand diligence is, Doug. And this is what we do almost full-time for some of the brands out there.
Yeah, you touched on a lot of points there, I think, that are really, really interesting, because once you can put that fence around your brand, then you can say which distributor is going to participate on your Amazon page for that product, and they can pick and pack and ship that product to those consumer orders.
Correct.
And what I think which is a great conversation to have today, because a lot of the folks that may be watching from the Office Products Association or the Home Products Trade Association, they all have distributor channels. So if you're making electrical breakers, you have your whole electrical supply channel, and not just Home Depot or Rona or Menards or et cetera in the US. And then if you're on the office product side, of course, you have office product suppliers across the country that are also buying your product and shipping either direct B2B or also may have some B2C stores as well. So there's lots of different options, I think, around that fence, particularly in these channels where they have pro channels or resellers of their product that are registered.
That's correct.
And then it also eliminates, so if I'm right, it would eliminate all those people who have either bought your product in an aftermarket from a reseller, from a, everywhere from a blowout at a Winners or a TJ Maxx or on a Black Friday deal on Amazon. It would also prevent them from reselling it using your branding.
Yes, there's different level of complexities there in terms of vendors versus sellers, but yes, it gives you definitely more control over the distribution of who's allowed to sell it on Amazon. And if you can't ring fence it, well, there it can't be deep, right? The guy that's gonna buy it off one shelf and sell it on Amazon, how many units can he have, right? It can't have that many units. So each scenario is different, but you definitely have more control once you've registered your brand.
And it sounds like there's also control over, your product, a little bit more control over your product reviews, because you have you're making sure that you have high quality distribution network, and it's not just someone packing and shipping out of their bedroom, for lack of a better example.
100%, Doug. I think the other big benefit here also, and I know we have the folks in here from a B2B standpoint, right? So the whole shift towards business to business as Amazon is big, right? They have sales team on the ground. I get a call every 2 weeks to open a Amazon business account, which I did, by the way. But everything, so the shift towards e-commerce B2C to B2B is happening right now, and it's happening fast. And I always give the same example. I had the electrician to come here to do the outlet for the electric car. He bought his breakers off of Amazon, right? So it's becoming this B2B player that cannot be ignored. On the office supply side, same thing, right? I used to sell office supplies to companies, and Amazon is there also distributing the same product from the manufacturers to, I hate to say this, but it was cheaper. So it's becoming this player on the B2B that's getting bigger and bigger, whether we like Amazon or not. This is not a question of whether you like it or not. It's just there, right? And it's a big train, and it's a big ecosystem. So within a B2B environment, another reason why taking control of your brand that's out there, these are your products, these are your brands, is important. And I'm going to say it again, it's not that complicated, and it's quite cheap, right? You open a seller's account, costs $35 Canadian a month. You register your trademarks. It's a bit tricky on the paperwork, but it's really everyone can understand how to do that, and away you go.
Yeah, that's some great advice. I think covered off a lot here in 20 minutes, but that to me is like the basics, right? Just make sure you're controlling your brand. They're very the company's ideal. They're always concerned about their logo, brand image, and those types of things, as they should be. And once it gets into the digital world, it's always tougher to have that same control that you used to have in the printed world over what's being, said or where your content's being distributed, etc.
That's correct. I called it the digital brand destiny, Doug. So that's my fancy word.
Awesome.
Control your digital brand destiny.
And if someone wanted to control their digital brand destiny and get a hold of you, what's the easiest way for them to do that?
AmazonStudio.ca. There's plenty of guys out there. I'm there too. So AmazonStudio.ca is the easiest way to get a hold of us. It'll be our pleasure. Whenever you're ready.
Well, thanks again for joining me today, Guillaume. We'll end it here at our 21-minute mark. Appreciate all the content today. It was an excellent, I think, an educational format and content for the listener, and I hope everyone enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay.
So I'd like to thank Guillaume again for joining us today on the Point of Sale Data Minute, our second episode in conjunction with the Canadian Office Products Association and the Canadian Home Products Trade Association, again, sponsored by Krunchbox. Stay tuned for another episode later this month. I have Russ Abstein coming on. We're going to talk a little bit about category management and continue to provide some valuable insights to all the members and non-members across the country over the next while. Again, thanks for your time. Hope you enjoyed it, and look forward to seeing you again online.